filthy black homeless man lifted his head, voice low and polite.
Sir, I'll gather my things and go.
Officer Bradley Walsh laughed in his face. A tall, white cop who didn't know his place, badge shining, hand on his holster.
Boy, the only thing you own is the stink coming off that filthy jacket.
He flicked the man's military ID into the slush.
This is America. We don't salute trash like you. Crawl back to whatever ghetto spit you out.
A crowd gathered. Phones came up. Nobody spoke. The black man bowed his head. One hand pressed flat against something heavy sewn into the torn lining of his coat, something nobody had ever seen him open. But not a soul on Elm Street understood. In 15 minutes, female officers would step out of a patrol car, look down at what fell into the snow, and snap into a salute. Rewind 15 minutes. Rewind 4 years. Rewind 30 years. This country forgot. Rewind 15 minutes. Rewind 4 years. Rewind the whole damn thing. His name was Caleb Anderson, 58 years old, 6'1", though nobody had seen him stand up straight in a long time. Most mornings he woke up on the same green wooden bench across from the Veterans Memorial Park in Millbrook, Virginia, a quiet little town 40 miles outside of Washington, D.C. The first thing Caleb did every morning was fold his blanket. Not roll it, fold it. Corners squared, edges tight, the way a drill sergeant had taught him 40 years ago in a barracks in Fort Bragg. He pressed the creases flat with his 2 missing fingertips, frostbite, Kandahar, winter of 2009, and tucked the bundle under the bench. Then he did 20 push-ups. Every morning. Rain, snow, knees screaming, didn't matter. 20. A habit older than most of the cars parked on Elm Street. His breath fogged in the December cold as he counted silently in his head. Then he reached inside his torn olive-green field jacket and pulled out a laminated photograph. A woman, a little girl in a yellow Easter dress. The plastic was yellowed at the edges, peeling. The photograph was from 1998. The woman had died of breast cancer in 2015. The little girl had grown up and stopped answering his calls in 2019. And he did not blame her for that. He kissed the photograph once, softly, right where the little girl's forehead was. Then he slid it back into the inner pocket next to the 4 small navy blue boxes he never opened in public. Anyone walking by Caleb would have smelled him before they saw him. His beard was matted, snowflakes frozen into it like salt. His hair hung in thick, unwashed cords under a wool cap darkened by 3 weeks of sleeping on hot air vents behind the auto shop on 3rd Avenue. His hands were cracked, his fingernails black with axle grease and road grime. The field jacket was stained with white salt streaks from winter storms. One sleeve had been torn open and stitched back together with fishing line he had found in a dumpster behind the sporting goods store. He stank. That was the plain truth. 4 years on the street does that to a man who has no home to bathe in. But underneath the dirt, something else showed. The way he folded that blanket. The way he nodded politely at Mrs. Halloran as she walked her little white terrier past him. The way he tipped an imaginary hat. "Morning, ma'am." She nodded back. She always nodded back. She was one of the few. Millbrook was a patriotic town. Gold Star memorials in the park, 3 of them. A recruiting office on Main Street with a fresh American flag. Every lamppost on Elm flew the stars and stripes. "Thank you for your service" was printed on the billboards outside the Chevy dealership. In a town like that, you'd think people would have asked the quiet homeless veteran his name. But in 4 years, almost nobody had. People crossed to the other side of the street when they saw him coming. Mothers pulled their children closer. A shop owner on Main once turned the hose on him when he was trying to drink from the spigot on the side of the building. Almost nobody saw him as human. Almost. Caleb's next stop was always the same. Wallace's Diner, corner of Elm and 4th. The back door. He'd knock twice, soft, and Megan Wallace, 62, widowed, her husband had been a Marine, would slide a brown paper bag through the crack. A biscuit, a hard-boiled egg, a packet of hand warmers. She never charged him. He always left a folded dollar on the step. She always slipped it back into the bag the next morning. "Stay warm, Mr. Anderson," she said today, like she said every day. He tipped his invisible hat. "Ma'am." Megan Wallace was the only person in the entire town of Millbrook who knew his last name. Not the police, not the mayor, not the priest who waved at him on Sundays. Just Megan. From there, Caleb walked 4 blocks to the memorial. He pressed his gloved hand against the cold granite wall, the one engraved with the names of Millbrook's fallen. He always touched the same 2. Corporal James Holloway, Specialist Ellis Foster. He whispered the same prayer he'd whispered every morning for 4 years. Then he stood still for exactly 1 minute, his breath fogging in the December cold. Whatever had cracked inside him, he carried it here. Rain, snow, didn't matter. He came. He was walking back toward the bench, the paper bag from Megan's tucked under his arm, when the Millbrook PD patrol car rolled slowly past him. Officer Bradley Walsh behind the wheel. 12 years on the force. 12 years of quiet complaints buried by his union rep. Rookie Daniel Carter in the passenger seat, 1 month out of the academy. Walsh's eyes locked on Caleb. His lip curled. The patrol car slowed, drifted over, pulled to the curb with a crunch of old road salt under the tires. Carter shifted in his seat. "Sarge said to use discretion." "Sarge ain't in this car, kid." The engine cut. Both doors opened at the same time. Walsh walked around the front of the patrol car with the slow, rolling swagger of a man who enjoyed this part of the job too much. Carter followed 2 steps behind, hands hovering uncertainly near his own belt. Caleb stopped on the sidewalk. He set the brown paper bag down carefully, the way you set down something precious. Then he straightened up as much as his old knees would let him, folded his hands in front of him, and waited. "Sir?" Caleb said quietly. "Good morning, officer." Walsh laughed, the kind of laugh with nothing warm in it. "Good morning, officer. Listen to this guy, trying to sound like a butler." He stopped 3 feet from Caleb and crossed his arms. "Hey, Chief, you got ID?" Caleb nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. May I reach into my jacket?" "May you reach into your jacket," Walsh mimicked, voice high and mocking. "Sure, your majesty. Reach in real slow. You twitch, you're on the ground." Caleb moved the way a man who had been ordered around by soldiers for 30 years moves. Deliberately, hands always visible, telegraphing every motion. He unbuttoned the top button of his field jacket. He reached 2 fingers into the breast pocket. He pulled out a laminated card and held it up. The card was cracked and faded, but the emblem was unmistakable. U.S. Army, Department of Defense, Caleb J. Anderson, Master Sergeant, retired. Walsh looked at it. Walsh laughed again. "This is a joke, right?" He snatched it from Caleb's hand. "Where'd you get this, pal? Halloween costume store? Some veteran drop it in a dumpster and you fished it out?" He flicked the ID card into the slush at Caleb's feet. Carter flinched. He actually flinched. But he didn't say anything. Not yet. A small crowd had started forming across the street. 3 people at first, then 6. A teenage girl in a puffy pink jacket had her phone out, held horizontal, already recording. The red dot was blinking. She was 15 years old. Her name was Sophia Bennett. Her grandfather had been a Vietnam veteran. She knew exactly what was happening on that sidewalk, and she was keeping her hands steady on purpose. "Officer Walsh," Caleb said, still calm, still quiet. "That card is real. If you'd like, you can run my name. I'll wait." "Oh, I'll run your name all right," Walsh spat. "I'll run you straight into county. You think I don't know a scam when I see one? Stolen valor's a federal crime. You know that? Maybe you'll like a real jail instead of this sidewalk." Megan Wallace had stepped out of the diner, apron still on, hands covered in flour. She called across the street. "Officer, leave him alone. He's not bothering anybody." Walsh's head whipped around. "Ma'am, get back inside your restaurant before I cite you for obstruction." "Cite me for what?" Megan snapped. "For being a decent human being?" "Inside. Now." She didn't move. But a customer pulled her back by the elbow, whispering something urgent. She glared at Walsh, then at Caleb. She didn't go back in. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching, her mouth a thin, pale line. Walsh turned back to Caleb. Against the wall, hands flat, legs spread. "You know the drill, don't you? Old pro like you." Caleb moved to comply. He placed his hands on the cold brick of the building. His right knee, the one with 2 pieces of Iraqi shrapnel still in it, buckled slightly. He caught himself on the wall. Walsh laughed. "Oh, don't pull the war hero act with me, bum. I've seen 100 of you try that. Limping, crying, hiding behind a uniform you probably never wore." Caleb closed his eyes for 1 second, just one. The crowd was bigger now, 15, maybe 20 people. More phones were out. A middle-aged man in a Carhartt jacket was muttering, "This ain't right, this ain't right," but he wasn't saying it loud enough for Walsh to hear. Carter leaned in close to Walsh's ear. Brad, listen. The ID looked real. Can we just call it in before we—" "You want a disciplinary note in your file on week 4, Carter?" "No, sir." "Then shut up and watch how this is done." Walsh started patting Caleb down, outer pockets first. He pulled out the rosary, black wooden beads, worn smooth from decades of prayer, and let it fall to the wet sidewalk. He pulled out a small brass key and tossed it aside. He pulled out the photograph of the woman and the little girl. He held it up, squinted at it, sneered. "Who's this? Your fantasy family? Or did you steal this out of somebody's wallet, too?" Caleb's jaw tightened. He said nothing. His breath came slow, disciplined, measured. 30 years of training in how to stay calm under fire. Walsh dropped the photo. It landed face down in the slush. Caleb's shoulders jerked forward 1 inch, an instinct. He caught himself. He stayed against the wall. "Pick it up," Caleb said quietly, the first edge of steel in his voice. "Please." Walsh paused. "What was that, Chief? You telling me what to do now?" "No, sir. I'm asking. That photograph is my wife. She passed away. Please pick it up." Walsh looked at the photo in the slush, looked at Caleb, stepped on the photograph with the toe of his boot and ground it into the dirty snow. "Oops, Butterfingers." Carter made a small sound behind him, like a protest that died in his throat. Then Walsh pulled out the paperback, a worn, dog-eared copy of A Rumor of War by Philip Caputo. The cover was held together with electrical tape. Walsh flipped it open, snorted. "Trying to look smart, huh, Chief? What, you read this one big book and now you think you're a professor?" He tossed it onto the wet pavement. The pages soaked through immediately. Walsh turned to the crowd, spreading his arms like a performer on a stage. "You people see what we deal with, huh? This is what your tax dollars pay for. This is the problem, right here. Junkies, vagrants, thieves, filth on our streets. And the bleeding hearts in City Hall want us to treat them like they're people." A couple of faces in the crowd looked away. Most didn't. Sophia Bennett's phone was still up, still recording, still blinking red. "This is a white neighborhood," Walsh continued louder. "Families live here. Kids walk to school past this corner. And this is sleeping on our benches?" Somebody in the crowd laughed, an ugly laugh. Another man said too loudly, "Give it to him, officer." A woman in the crowd muttered to her friend, "He's probably on drugs. Look at him." Nobody knew Caleb's name. Nobody knew that he had never touched a drug stronger than ibuprofen. Nobody knew that the shaking in his hands was not withdrawal. It was something else. Something much older. He turned back to Caleb. His voice dropped, low and mean. "I'm gonna ask you one time, boy. What's in that inside pocket? Don't lie. I can see something bulging in there. Caleb's eyes closed again. 1 second. 2.
Sir, with respect, he said quietly, those are personal items, meaningful to me. Please don't.
Meaningful. Walsh spat the word like it tasted bad. You don't get to have meaningful, pal. You lost the right to meaningful the day you started stinking up taxpayer sidewalks. Take the jacket off.
Sir,
I said take the jacket off.
Officer Walsh,
I'm asking you, respectfully. Are you deaf now, too, on top of everything else? I said take the jacket off. Caleb did not move. Not out of defiance, out of something else. A grief too heavy to translate into motion. Those 4 little boxes in his chest pocket were the only things he had left of a life that had made sense. Once he lost those, he thought, he would really be nothing. And he did not trust this man with them. Walsh grabbed the lapel of the field jacket, grabbed it hard. Old fabric, 30-year-old stitching, held together by history and fishing line. Sir, please don't. Walsh yanked. The sound was small, a dry, tearing sound like old paper. The inner lining of the jacket split along the seam. Something shifted, something weighted. Metal on metal somewhere deep in the coat. Walsh didn't hear it. He was too busy yelling. You don't tell me what to do! You hear me, bum? You don't say please to me. You don't say sir to me. You shut up and do what I say. He spun Caleb around by the shoulder, slammed him chest first against the brick wall. Caleb's forehead struck the rough edge of a mortar joint. A thin red line opened above his left eyebrow. Blood welled up, slid slow down the side of his nose, caught in the tangles of his beard. Megan Wallace screamed from the diner doorway. That's enough! Bradley Walsh, that's enough! Carter stepped in between her and the scene, hands up, pleading with his eyes. Ma'am, please. Please stay back, please. He's bleeding, you're hurting him. Ma'am, I know. I know. Please. Walsh wasn't listening to any of it. He was in a rhythm now. The ugly rhythm men like him get into when they think nobody who matters is watching. You know what I could do to you? He hissed, low, directly into Caleb's ear. One phone call. You disappear. Nobody's looking for you. Nobody wonders where you went. That's the thing about being nothing, pal. Nothing's exactly what happens to you. Nobody files a missing persons report for a bum. Nobody lights a candle. Nobody. Caleb's eyes were open. They stared straight ahead at the brick wall, unfocused, somewhere else. Somewhere 4,000 miles and 2 decades away. A concrete basement in Mosul. A hood over his head. 9 days. 9 days of nothing but his own heartbeat and the sound of a dripping pipe and the click of a rifle bolt every few hours just to see if he flinched. He did not flinch now. He did not cry out. He did not beg. He did not speak. One tear. Just one. It slid from his right eye down through the blood on his cheek and vanished into his beard. Walsh didn't see it. All right, real talk. At this point in the story, my chest is tight, like genuinely tight. Because you and I both know what's in those little metal boxes hidden in that jacket. And Walsh doesn't. And the universe is about to hand this man a karma bill the size of a damn battleship. Just watch. Just watch what happens next. Walsh yanked the coat open. The torn lining gave way completely. 4 small objects tumbled out in a cascade and hit the frozen sidewalk. 4 navy blue velvet cases, each one no bigger than a pack of cigarettes. They landed in the slush with soft, wet thuds. One of them popped halfway open on impact. A glint of gold peeked out from the edge of the fabric. Walsh didn't even look down. He was still screaming in Caleb's face. What is this, huh? What did you steal, boy? Who'd you rob? I knew it. I knew there was something. Where'd you get these? What are they? Pawn shop score? You mugged some old lady at the VA? The crowd across the street had gone silent. Something had changed. You could feel it before you could name it. Megan Wallace, still standing in the diner doorway, had gone white. Her mouth was open, one hand at her throat, her wedding ring catching the winter sun. Her knees were shaking. She recognized what Walsh did not. Sophia Bennett, the teenage girl with the pink phone, zoomed in. Her voice wobbled. Oh my God. Oh my God, are those? A man in a VFW cap, walking by on the other side of the street, stopped mid-step. He turned. He saw. His hand went slowly to his heart. Walsh still hadn't looked down. He bent finally to scoop up the cases, still mid-rant, still narrating his own triumph. Let's see what we got here, huh? What'd you steal? What'd you steal? Come on, let's go. He picked up the first one, the closed one. He popped it open with his thumb. A 5-pointed gold star on a pale blue silk ribbon. 13 white stars stitched in a crescent across the fabric. Gleaming. Pristine. Older than he was, but kept like new. Walsh squinted at it. What is this, costume jewelry? Pawn shop plastic? Who'd you steal this from? You... And in that exact moment, the moment Walsh held the highest military honor the United States of America can bestow and called it plastic, a second patrol car pulled up to the curb behind the first one. The driver's side door opened. A woman stepped out. Sergeant Patricia Williams, 20 years on the Millbrook Force, 6 years before that as a U.S. Army military police sergeant. Black, mid-40s, close cropped hair under her duty cap. She moved like somebody who had seen a lot and survived most of it. The passenger door opened too. Officer Rachel Brooks, 31, white, Marine Corps reservist, 6 years on the force. Her daddy had been a Navy chaplain. She still wore his dog tags under her uniform every single day. Williams started walking toward the scene, standard approach, assessing. Her eyes swept the sidewalk, the crowd, the phones, the bleeding man against the wall, the rookie Carter looking like he wanted to throw up, and Walsh crouched down holding something. And then her eyes found what Walsh was holding. She stopped. She did not slow down. She stopped. Cold, in the middle of the sidewalk, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, frozen like somebody had hit pause on her whole body. Brooks, 2 steps behind, walked right into her back. Sarge, what's wrong? Williams didn't answer. She couldn't. Her throat was not working. She took 1 step, another. Slow, reverent. The way a woman walks into a church she hasn't been to since she was a child. Brooks saw what Williams was seeing. Her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God, Brooks whispered. Sarge, is that? Yes, Williams breathed. Yes, it is. Walsh finally looked up. Sarge, hey, this guy's got stolen property. Military, stolen valor looks like. Probably fenced from a VA somewhere. Williams walked right past him like he wasn't there. She stopped in front of the black homeless man in the torn jacket. Blood on his forehead, snow in his beard. His back still pressed against a cold brick wall. She looked at his face for the first time. Really looked. His eyes were closed. Sir, she said, her voice cracking. Sir, will you please look at me? Caleb opened his eyes. Slow, tired. 4 years of tired. Williams crouched down and picked up the other 3 velvet cases from the slush. She opened each one with shaking fingers. She read the engravings on the backs. Her lips moved silently. Silver Star, Purple Heart, 2 oak leaf clusters, Distinguished Service Cross. And the first one, the one Walsh had called plastic, the gold star on the pale blue ribbon. Master Sergeant Caleb J. Anderson, 5th Special Forces Group, for conspicuous gallantry at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. The Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration the United States of America can give a human being. awarded by the President of the United States. Fewer than 65 living recipients in the entire country. And this man had been sleeping on a bench in Millbrook for 4 years. Williams stood up slowly. She turned to face Caleb. She squared her shoulders. She took a deep, shuddering breath. And she raised her right hand to her temple and snapped into the sharpest, most textbook-perfect military salute anyone on that street had ever seen. Brooks saw it. Brooks understood. And at that exact same second, Officer Rachel Brooks, United States Marine Corps reservist, daughter of a Navy chaplain, raised her right hand and saluted too. 2 female cops, side by side, right hands at their temples, backs straight as flagpoles, saluting a filthy black homeless man with blood running down his face. The crowd on Elm Street froze. Nobody understood why. Not yet. For 8 full seconds, nothing on that sidewalk moved. 8 seconds is a long time. You counted out. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. Sophia Bennett was counting it in real time on her live stream. 340 viewers. 400. 500. Climbing fast. Someone in the chat typed, "What is happening?" in all caps. Someone else typed, "Why are they saluting him?" That was the universal question on Elm Street. A man in a baseball cap behind the crowd snorted. "What are they doing? Is this some kind of prank?" A woman next to him giggled nervously. "Is he famous or something? Did I miss something?" An older guy spat on the sidewalk. "2 lady cops saluting a bum. What's this country coming to?" Nobody understood. Nobody could see what was in the little velvet cases from across the street. All they could see was 2 uniformed female officers, ramrod straight, saluting a filthy black homeless man against a brick wall. It looked like a joke. It looked like performance art. It looked like the world had flipped upside down on a random Tuesday morning. Walsh was the loudest. "Sarge, Brooks, what are you doing? What are you doing? This guy's a thief. He's got stolen property. What is wrong with you two?" Neither woman moved. Neither woman breathed. Their salutes were locked. Carter, the rookie, stood frozen with his mouth half open, looking between the 2 women and the bleeding man he'd just helped hold against a wall, and something inside his chest went cold, and then hot, and then cold again. Caleb lifted his eyes, met Williams's gaze for the first time. "At ease, Sergeant," he said softly. His voice was hoarse, gentle. "Please, both of you, at ease." Williams dropped her salute. So did Brooks. Both women were crying silently. They hadn't even noticed they were crying. Williams took 1 step closer. She reached out and, with hands that were shaking badly, she buttoned the top of Caleb's torn jacket back up. To cover him. To give him back his dignity. "I'm so sorry, sir," she whispered. "I'm so sorry we didn't know. I'm so sorry this town didn't know." "It's okay, Sergeant," Caleb said. "It's okay." "It's not okay, sir. It's not." Then Williams turned. She turned to face the whole street. She took the Medal of Honor, the gold star on the pale blue ribbon, and she held it up high above her head where every single person could see it. Her voice, when it came out, was not a cop's voice anymore. It was a soldier's voice. It carried. "Listen up. All of you. Phones down. Listen." The street went quiet. "This," she said, her voice shaking but loud, "is the Medal of Honor. The highest military decoration the United States of America can bestow on a human being. It is presented by the President. There are fewer than 65 living recipients in this entire country." She opened the second case, held up the silver and gold star. "This is the Silver Star for gallantry in combat." Third case.
Purple Heart, with 2 oak leaf clusters. This man has been wounded in action 3 separate times serving this country. 4th case. Distinguished Service Cross, 2nd highest honor the United States Army can give. She held them all up, 4 in her 2 trembling hands. The man that Officer Walsh has been kicking, cursing, and bleeding on this sidewalk for the last 20 minutes is Master Sergeant Caleb J. Anderson, United States Army, 5th Special Forces Group, retired. In 2011, he led a rescue operation that saved 34 hostages, including 4 American soldiers and 11 Iraqi civilians. He personally carried 2 wounded men nearly half a mile under enemy mortar fire. One of those men was my best friend from MP school. His name was Corporal Marcus Holloway. Wait, no, I'm sorry. Corporal James Holloway. His name is on that wall, right there. She pointed at the memorial park across the street. In 2013, the mayor of Millbrook, this city, this town, this street, gave Master Sergeant Anderson the key to the city in a public ceremony right there at that park, 4 blocks from where he has been sleeping on a bench for the last 4 years. The crowd turned and looked in unison. And this morning, she said, voice hardening into ice, Officer Bradley Walsh threw this man's military ID into the snow, tore his jacket, slammed his head into that wall, called him trash, called him a bum, called him boy. And the rest of you stood there and watched and filmed it for entertainment. The silence on Elm Street became a living thing, and then, one by one, Elm Street understood. The man in the baseball cap took his hat off, pressed it over his heart. His face crumpled. The older man who had spat on the sidewalk stared at his own spit like he'd never seen anything so shameful in his entire life. The VFW veteran across the street was already saluting. He had been since Williams first raised hers. His arm was trembling, but he would not lower it. Megan Wallace sank down onto the diner's front step and sobbed openly into her flour-dusted apron. 3 years, she was saying. 3 years I fed him biscuits through the back door. 3 years, and I never knew. I never asked. Carter, Officer Daniel Carter, rookie, 1 month on the job, stepped back from Caleb, released the hand he'd been holding, stepped back 2 paces, and he too raised his right hand in a salute. His face was wet. Only Walsh was still standing normally. His mouth moved. Nothing came out. His face went from red to white in about 3 seconds flat. Walsh's knees didn't buckle all the way, but they came close. He reached out for the patrol car fender to steady himself. Sarge, I didn't know. How was I supposed to? Williams turned on him. She had been crying. She was not crying anymore. He handed you his military ID, Walsh. You threw it in the snow. I watched it happen on the teenager's phone from the other side of the street. Brooks, what's your body cam status? Brooks wiped her cheeks and cleared her throat. On the whole time, Sergeant. Full audio and video time-stamped. Uploaded to personal cloud already. Precinct servers will have a mirror within the hour. Good. Make sure that footage does not get deleted from any server. Am I being clear, Officer Brooks? Crystal clear, Sergeant. Sophia Bennett in the crowd called out without lowering her phone. I'm still streaming. It's all on Twitter already. 6,000 people watching. Williams glanced at her, nodded once. Thank you, young lady. Don't stop. Walsh's excuses kept coming, smaller, more desperate. I mean, come on, he didn't say he was a vet. He didn't identify himself as... He gave you his name, Walsh. He said, Officer Walsh, to you, twice, on camera. How did he know your name before you introduced yourself? Because he reads badges, Walsh. He reads them. He was trying to be polite to you. He was trying to give you every possible chance to not do what you did. And you did it anyway. Sarge,
Don't you sarge me. You don't get to sarge me today. A third vehicle pulled up to the curb, unmarked. Captain Evelyn Hayes, precinct commander, 48 years old, 22 years in uniform, stepped out of the driver's seat. Captain Hayes had been briefed by radio on the way over. She knew. You could see on her face that she knew. She walked straight past Walsh and went to Caleb first. She knelt down in the wet slush of the sidewalk. In her clean uniform, in full view of 24 cell phone cameras, and she picked up each of the 4 metal cases. One by one. She brushed the snow off them with her thumb. She closed each one gently, and she held them out to Caleb in both hands, offering them back like a communion.
Sir, she said, her voice steady but her eyes wet.
Master Sergeant Anderson, on behalf of the Millbrook Police Department, I am so profoundly sorry. This was not who we are. I cannot undo this. I can promise you that what follows will be real. Caleb took the cases. His fingers shook just a little. Ma'am, he said quietly, it was who one of you was. Don't carry more than that. Captain Hayes lowered her head for a full second. Then she stood up and turned around. Officer Walsh, step away from Master Sergeant Anderson. Now. Walsh stepped back. Service weapon on the hood of the vehicle. Captain, on the hood, now. Walsh unclipped his sidearm with hands that were no longer steady. He placed it on the hood of his patrol car. Badge. Captain, please, my record. I've seen your record, Walsh. 14 prior complaints, all mysteriously closed. That's the problem, isn't it? That's why we're here. Badge on the hood. Now. He unclipped the badge, placed it next to the gun. Officer Walsh, effective immediately, you are suspended without pay, pending a full internal affairs investigation. You are under an administrative hold. You will surrender your keys, your radio, and your vehicle. Officer Brooks, escort him to the back of my vehicle. He is not to be left alone. He is not to speak to a union representative until I personally say he can. Yes, Captain. Brooks walked Walsh, empty-handed and empty-holstered, to the back of Hayes's unmarked car. Walsh looked at the crowd as he walked past them. Not one face met his. Not one. Sophia Bennett kept filming until the car door closed on him. Paramedics arrived. They wanted to take Caleb to the hospital for the cut on his forehead. He refused, politely. Butterfly bandage'll hold, son. Thank you, son. He called the paramedic son. The paramedic was 45 years old. He cried a little too. Captain Hayes stayed with Caleb for another 20 minutes. She helped him gather his things, his rosary, his brass key, his waterlogged copy of A Rumor of War, the laminated photo of his wife and daughter. She lifted it with both hands and blew the snow off gently. Sir, she said softly, will you come with me? Just for coffee, just to warm up, wherever you want. Caleb looked at her for a long moment. Then he pointed across the street. Megan's, he said. Ma'am, if she'll have me through the front door this time. The video from Sophia Bennett's pink phone hit Twitter by lunchtime. By 5 p.m., it had 8 million views. By the next morning, 30 million. The hashtag #salute for the sergeant trended nationally for 3 days straight. Cable news ran the clip on loop. Good Morning America sent a producer to Millbrook. 60 Minutes called. The President of the United States posted a personal video addressing Master Sergeant Anderson by name and apologizing on behalf of the country. Caleb did not watch any of it. Caleb was at Megan Wallace's diner in the back booth, eating a hot breakfast through the front door for the first time in 4 years. Megan would not let him pay. She would not even let him try. But the country was watching, and so was the Army. And so was the Department of Justice. Internal Affairs at Millbrook PD opened a full file on Officer Bradley Walsh within 48 hours. Captain Hayes personally pulled every prior civilian complaint against him, 14 of them, nearly all filed by Black or Latino residents of Millbrook. Every single one marked unfounded or insufficient evidence. 3 of those complainants, emboldened by the viral video, called the precinct and asked to refile. One of them, a 19-year-old college student named Jamal Moore, still had the medical bills from a 2024 traffic stop where Walsh had slammed his head into the hood of his own car for reaching too quickly for his registration. Another was a 60-year-old Honduran grandmother who had been pepper sprayed for speaking Spanish too loudly on a park bench. Within a week, the FBI Civil Rights Division opened a parallel federal investigation into pattern or practice violations at Millbrook PD. The Department of Justice sent 2 observers. The governor of Virginia called a press conference. The Attorney General of the United States made a personal statement. District Attorney Davis convened a grand jury on day 11. Walsh was indicted on multiple counts: felony assault under color of law, deprivation of civil rights, filing false reports in 4 prior incidents, and evidence tampering. It turned out Walsh had personally deleted body cam footage from 2 earlier stops that, under federal subpoena, were partially recovered from cloud backup. The union quietly stopped returning his calls. His brother, Tyler Walsh, who was a union attorney, took a sudden vacation to Florida. Bradley Walsh was on his own. Meanwhile, in the Veterans Park, 4 blocks from the bench where Caleb used to sleep, a press conference was being prepared. General Howard Sinclair, United States Army, retired, flew in from Fort Bragg to stand next to Caleb at the podium. Sinclair had been Caleb's commanding officer in 2011. He was now 72 years old, silver-haired, ramrod straight, with tears in his eyes that he did not try to hide. General Sinclair stepped to the microphone. He did not read from notes. Master Sergeant Caleb Anderson led a rescue operation in the province of Nineveh, Iraq, on a night in April of 2011 that I will remember until the day I die. 34 hostages were in that compound. 4 of them were American. 11 were Iraqi civilians, including a 9-year-old girl. The rest were Kurdish aid workers. Master Sergeant Anderson took a rifle round through the shoulder, a piece of mortar shrapnel through the right knee, and a 3rd injury I will not describe here out of respect for his privacy. And he still personally carried 2 wounded men nearly half a mile to the extract point. 1 American, 1 Iraqi. He did not leave either of them. He never has left anybody. Not once in 30 years of service. General Sinclair turned and looked at Caleb. This man is the finest soldier I ever commanded, and this country put him on a bench for 4 years. He turned back to the cameras. His voice hardened. Caleb Anderson is not the exception among America's homeless veterans. He is the pattern. There are 40,000 homeless veterans in this country tonight. Some of them are wearing medals under their jackets too. Most of them are not. That does not matter. All of them served. All of them are ours. And we have failed them. Mayor Lincoln Reeves, 56, white-haired, visibly shaken, stepped up next. He apologized publicly. Not a corporate apology, the real kind, the kind where his voice broke twice, and announced the immediate creation of the Anderson Initiative, a $12 million city program funding transitional housing, mental health care, and job reintegration for homeless veterans in Millbrook and 3 neighboring counties. He pledged a full independent audit of the Millbrook PD's complaint review process. 2 other officers, flagged during the audit, resigned within a month rather than face their reviews. Sergeant Patricia Williams was promoted to lieutenant and named head of a brand new community liaison unit with a mandate to rebuild trust between the department and the neighborhoods it had been failing. Officer Rachel Brooks was promoted to sergeant and assigned to the same unit. Officer Daniel Carter, the rookie, requested to partner with Williams permanently. Williams said yes. She also testified before the grand jury, walking in that same day in full uniform and telling the truth about what he had seen on that sidewalk. The trial of Bradley Walsh lasted 9 weeks. Prosecutor Davis called 22 witnesses. She played Sophia Bennett's phone video. She played Brooks's body cam footage, uncut, all 23 minutes of it.
She called 3 of Walsh's prior victims to testify. She called Megan Wallace. She called Officer Carter, who testified against his former partner with a steady voice and a straight back. The defense's argument was the same tired one. He was just doing his job. Race had nothing to do with it. The body cam did not capture context. The jury did not buy it. Nobody bought it. The footage spoke for itself. The pattern spoke for itself. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty. All counts. Sentencing: 11 years in federal prison. Permanent bar from law enforcement. Forfeiture of pension. Civil judgment of $2.4 million. Caleb was awarded the entire civil judgment. He kept not 1 cent of it. He signed the whole amount over to the Anderson Initiative the same afternoon. When the reporter asked him why on the courthouse steps, Caleb just smiled. Really smiled, for the first time anyone had seen on camera, and said very quietly, "Ma'am, I've been warm this week. I don't need more than that. Give it to the ones who aren't warm yet. There's always somebody colder." And then finally, at General Sinclair's gentle urging, Master Sergeant Caleb J. Anderson did something he had refused to do for 10 full years. He accepted inpatient care at the VA. He told his therapist on day 1, sitting in a clean room with a window that looked out on trees, "Doc, I think I was waiting. I think I was waiting for somebody to tell me I was still worth saving." The therapist, a black woman in her 50s with her own military service on her wall, reached across the desk and took his hand. "Master Sergeant," she said, "you always were. Always." 6 months later, on a warm Saturday morning in June, a small crowd gathered at the corner of Elm and 4th. Not on the sidewalk where Caleb used to sleep. 2 blocks up, at a renovated Victorian house with fresh white paint and a wide front porch and a hand-carved wooden sign over the door. Anderson House, Transitional Housing for Veterans. The ribbon was long and red and strung across the front porch. Caleb stood on the top step. Clean-shaven, hair cut and combed, a crisp navy blue suit that Megan Wallace had helped him pick out at a department store in Arlington and paid for without telling him. On his lapel, 1 small pin, the pale blue ribbon and gold star of the Medal of Honor. He wore it now. He had not worn it in 15 years. He was wearing it today because every man and woman walking through the doors of Anderson House needed to see it and know that the person welcoming them home had been right where they were. His knees still hurt. His nights were still hard sometimes. The therapist had warned him there was no such thing as a cure, only tools. He had the tools now. He used them. He looked out over the crowd. Lieutenant Patricia Williams was in the front row, in dress blues. Sergeant Rachel Brooks stood beside her. Officer Daniel Carter stood 2 paces behind them. Captain Evelyn Hayes was there. Mayor Lincoln Reeves was there. District Attorney Olivia Davis was there. General Howard Sinclair had flown in from Fort Bragg one more time in full dress uniform, 4 stars gleaming in the sun. Megan Wallace was in the front row too. She was holding a tray of fresh biscuits because some things don't change, and some things shouldn't. Sophia Bennett was there, the teenage girl with the pink phone. She had started a college fund from the public donations that poured into her name after the video went viral. She was donating all of it to Anderson House. She stood near the back, phone in her pocket this time, eyes shining. Caleb stepped to the microphone. He cleared his throat. "I wasn't invisible because I was homeless," he said. His voice was quieter than the microphone expected, and somehow the crowd leaned in to catch every word. "I was invisible because people chose not to see me. The men and women who will live in this house, they don't need your pity. They need your eyes. Look at them. Learn their names. Say good morning. That's how it starts. That's how everybody gets their life back. One good morning at a time. He picked up the scissors. He cut the ribbon. The crowd applauded, slow and long. Afterwards, Caleb walked alone 2 blocks down Elm Street back to the green wooden bench across from the Memorial Park. He sat on it one more time, just for a minute. He touched the brass key in his pocket, the key to his new 1-bedroom apartment on the 2nd floor of Anderson House. He smiled. A small, tired, real smile. A little girl walked past, holding her mother's hand. She waved at him. He waved back. Her mother smiled and said, "Good morning, Mr. Anderson." She knew his name. She had always known it. She had just never said it before. Now she did. Now everybody did. We live in a country that loves its heroes in parades and forgets them on park benches. We love the uniform. We're not always sure what to do with the human being inside it. Caleb Anderson did not need a salute to be worthy of one. He was worthy the whole time. Under the frozen sidewalk, under the torn jacket, under 4 years of silence. The medals did not make him. They just made us finally admit what he had been all along. And here is the hard part, the part I have to say. Because the medals in his jacket are what saved him. The medals are why 2 female cops stopped and saluted him. The medals are why the cameras came. But most homeless veterans do not have medals in their jackets. Most homeless people do not have medals in their jackets. They are still worthy, every single one of them. So here's what I want to know from you tonight. Have you ever walked past somebody, a man in a doorway, a woman on a bench, anybody, and looking back now, do you wish you had stopped? Just said hi? Just asked their name? Tell me about it down in the comments. I read every single one. I mean that. If this story hit you somewhere real, share it with somebody who needs the reminder that the stranger they are about to walk past today is a whole entire universe. Every one of them is. And if you want more stories about ordinary people who turned out to be extraordinary, and the justice that finally catches up to the folks who never saw it coming, hit that subscribe button. I have another one dropping this weekend, and you are gonna want to be here for it. One last thing before I let you go. If you had been standing on Elm Street that cold December morning, before anybody saw the medals, before anybody knew his name, would you have said something? Would you have stepped in? Would you have been Megan? Or would you have been the one with the phone, laughing? Be honest. I will see you in the next one.